So, what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? Well, French wines. Very, very confusing for most people who don't know the system that actually exists there. We call it AOC. And we've highlighted a couple of things that might help people better understand this system. This is a map that actually is all of French wine regions. And as you can see on the top, it's called Appellation d'Origine. And what does that actually mean? Well, that means that within the appellation system of every part of these regions in France, there are very, very strict rules. And the rules are, like in Bordeaux, you have to only plant certain varietals. In the Loire Valley, if you're making Sancerre, it has to be Sauvignon Blanc. In Burgundy, Burgundy for Chardonnay is the white of choice there, and Pinot Noir. But there's other wines. There's many, many other French wines that most Americans don't really know. They kind of fly under the radar. So we brought a perfect example of a wine here. So this is actually a wine that's called IGP Atlantique. So what does that actually mean? Well, IGP stands for Indication Géographique Protégée. And this was a system that was started in 2009 to actually describe and make wine less confusing for the consumer if they already weren't confused. But there's no rules as strict as the AOC. So basically, any wine coming from what they call IGP Atlantique or Atlantic has to come from the coast, that all the way down here, any wines that are produced from the Atlantic Ocean all the way up here to the Loire Valley. So, and what's the reason why they want to highlight this? Well, the Atlantic Ocean, because of this area here, we call these maritime areas of France. And this is very, very important because when you get the maritime breezes coming this way, they actually act as a cooling system to get into the vineyards. So this maritime brings a lot of things. It brings a lot of salinity to the wines, and it actually enhances certain grapes. And this particular wine that we have here is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. Now, Sauvignon Blanc, everybody realizes, is very famous in New Zealand and California. But the origins of Sauvignon Blanc actually do come from France because it's called Sauvignon. And Sauvignon Blanc actually started in this region of Bordeaux, and it's the perfect grape that grows in this, what we call maritime climate of the Atlantic. So these cool breezes that come this way kind of make this area very, very cool in the summertime. And then you get the Mediterranean breezes that come up this way to create what we call the perfect micro pocket. And that's the reason why Sauvignon is one of the best grapes that grow in this area. So we brought a perfect example of this region. This is called Les Ganivelle. So if anybody's ever seen sand dunes, which are all across the East Coast on the beaches, Les Ganivelle is actually the fence that they put to protect the sand dunes. And this area of France actually is the highest sand dunes in all of Europe. Some of the sand dunes are as high as 200 to 300 feet. That's quite high because the sand dunes that we have, especially here in Long Island, might be 20 feet, 30 feet in size, but you could imagine sand dunes that are 200 and 300 feet. Those are actually mountains. And that's because of all the beach erosion that's happened through all the centuries coming from the winds that actually act as this area. But it's a good thing too because it also blocks a lot as well. So this area producing Sauvignon Blanc benefits from that beautiful maritime climate that makes the wine what we call saline or a salinity. You get that from that kind of ocean breeze that you get off of these wines. So IGP is something to pay attention to because the wines are half the price of most wines from Appellation. So, but again, you can have IGP Atlantique from the Loire Valley, IGP Atlantique from Bordeaux region, and basically they cannot call it Bordeaux or they cannot call it Sancerre. They have to call it this category. So what that does keeps the price down. So these prices retail underneath $15 a bottle. So they're beautiful, beautiful wines, very expressive. I'm smelling all sorts of beautiful fruits from the Sauvignon. It's pure Sauvignon. There's no oak aging to this wine. So anyway, we just wanted to highlight a perfect area that we feel would be really, really interesting. Again, this is the Grape Explorer. If you like the content of our video, hit the subscribe button or hit the like button. We're here to present wines that, of course, we're trying to help people understand and learn about grapes and learn about wine.